Hey, howdy, and hello everyone, Upillow here once again. Today we are going to be covering a content creator, a little content creator, not quite little, fairly sizable audience actually, I got that wrong, by the name of DonutOperator's. So I'm going to give some context to this. DonutOperator is a former cop who now entirely traffics on his YouTube channel in taking footage of police violence being committed against people and pretty much doing everything he can to play cover for the police without being overly explicit about, and then claiming that he's not biased and that it is up for his audience and a grand jury to decide, because he is a coward, so much of a coward that he quit policing, you know? He quit the job that cowards go to. Friendly reminder, it is more dangerous to be a pizza delivery driver than a police officer, so don't let this man's propaganda get to you. But let's get into his video on the death of Keenan Anderson, who is a man who was recently murdered by police. Let's go ahead and watch it.
They're trying to kill me! They're trying to kill me!
So immediately, the flaw with this immediately is the fact that DonutOperator is showing footage of a man being murdered and is putting very dramatic, like like action movie music behind a real life man being real life murdered. Like, immediately a bad start. Yeah, just a horrific start.
Hi everyone, Donut here. I haven't posted in a week, but look, I'm back here with another unbiased police incident that is taking the national news by storm.
Immediately, we already got him saying unbiased. Tell me, genuinely, do y'all think that a man who was... Stop auto-playing YouTube. What's wrong with you? Okay, so let's be 100% honest.
Sources trying to find the truth.
Do we think that a man who was a police officer for years on end will be unbiased when talking about police incidents of this variety? Obviously not, you know? That's like saying, oh yeah, I worked at McDonald's for like a decade, and I really like their burgers, and I think that you should eat them, like, a lot, but I'm unbiased though. This is just like a personal judgment, you know? Like, obviously, this man has a strong bias in this. Okay? The debate will start at about 10 Flower Vortex. It's mostly just going to be, this video is mostly just going to be me crapping on DonutOperator. But yes, please do take care of yourself. So, let's get back into this trash fire.
On him. As most of the things that I put on this channel, I'm going to be unbiased. I'm going to be going between multiple sources, trying to find the truth in the middle. LAPD reports, news reports, dumbasses on Twitter. Speaking of,
Also, keep in mind, anyone who tells you that they're unbiased or is trying to, like, find some sort of middle ground is lying to you. Everyone has a bent, especially when they aren't some organization. Like, really, the only organization that you can get when covering news that is unbiased is something that synthesizes a lot of media sources, or B, just reports the facts, like plain facts. And even then, there can be bias in the way that things are addressed. Like, in an incident like this, it can be called a police incident, it can be called an accident, and it can be called a murder. There are multiple things in this that this specific incident can be called. Yeah, and this man is not unbiased. Do not let him lead you to believe that he's unbiased. He has a dog in this game, and you'll see this as this video goes forward.
I first found this incident on Twitter from the user 50 Shades of Way. He is a freelance reporter with about 300,000 followers who commonly posts a couple seconds to a minute of police incident content or other stupid shit without any context. With that being said, I'm not saying this incident was right.
See, like immediately, like, oh, I'm unbiased, but this person's also very stupid, you know?
Right or wrong, that's for
the
you
most
guys and a grand jury to
unbiased.
decide. I'm just here for the context and honest delivery. The video currently, as I am filming this, that I'm about to show you, has 1.4 million views.
Stop it right now! Stop it right now! Turn over! Turn over! I'm gonna tase you! Turn over! I'm gonna tase you! Turn over! I'm gonna tase you! Yes.
Okay, so he's about to defend these police officers.
What's trouble, partner? You're trying to do it for me. Stop it. Stop it, I'm gonna tase you. Okay, stop it, I'm gonna tase you. Stop it, or I'm gonna tase you. Stop resisting. Please, stop resisting. Please, please, please. I'm gonna tase him. I'm gonna tase him. They're trying to kill me.
This video is
About the
gonna get
35-second mark
dinged.
while the suspect is still resisting, an officer says,
Okay, so immediately we get into this. He's already using language such as resisting and loading. Stop autoplaying. Stop autoplaying, YouTube.
between multiple sources.
So immediately, Donut Operator uses terms like resisting. If we go back to this video, his resisting is him panicking whenever someone's elbow is right up on his neck, in a manner that, would probably panic a lot of people, especially in a situation like this. And if you notice, he mentions George Floyd. This is a pretty similar situation to the way that he died, at least in this image that you see right now, with this person's elbow being on his neck. In George Floyd's case, it was a knee. In this case, it is an elbow on a neck. That would cause someone a lot of panic, but no, he's resisting arrest for being a human and panicking whenever he's having, what is it, like 2, 3, maybe like 200, 250 pound men, considering like the general health wise of police in this country, just like on top of him. Yeah, but no, he's resisting arrest for being a human and panicking like a human.
Please. Trying to kill me.
At about the 35-second mark while the suspect is still resisting, an officer says, I'm going to use my taser, and he deploys the taser probes. Mind you, he said he's going to use his taser, I think it was 12 to 14 times.
And again, you can't reason with people in a panic state. It's almost like police should not be dealing with people in panic states, because it's difficult to reason with them, especially when you're threatening them with physical violence and are doing physical violence upon them. Yeah, you can say that restraining has a necessary, that restraining is a necessary thing to do in many circumstances, and I agree. Yeah, sometimes you do have to restrain people, but that doesn't make it any less violent. It's still an act of violence being done upon someone, and whenever an act of violence is done upon someone, they are going to react like violence is being done upon them. Because that's how humans are. Shut up, YouTube autoplay.
Between multiple sources, trying to find the truth in the middle.
But that's what happens. Whenever someone is being assailed upon, they're going to panic, because that's what humans do. We are biologically hardwired to take care of ourselves in that way. It's not, you can call it resisting if you want. This was not malicious. This was a man panicking for his life. But no, this man is unbiased. This is an unbiased reporter here. Donut Operator is.
Delivery. The video, currently, as I am...
You're trying to do it for me. You're trying to kill me.
Deploys the taser probes. Gather around, folks. I'm going to tell you how a taser works real quick. There are 2 ways to use a taser. You deploy the taser probes, the 2 little guys, and if they stick in your skin good enough, then it works. You stiffen up, you can't talk, and your life sucks for 5 seconds. The slow-mo guys created a video about 7 years ago demonstrating a pretty cool taser deployment. That's the first way a taser works. The second way a taser works is by drive stunning. You know the stun gun that your mom keeps in her purse, or that someone in high school had, and you f around with it and poke each other with it? You guys didn't have taser fights in high school? What is the world coming to? The tip of the taser makes a little electrical arc that you can just stick to people. It makes people comply pretty well. At the 35-second mark into the video, the officer does deploy his taser, but it appears that it doesn't make a good connection through the guy's hoodie. This means that the officer moves to the second option that you can use with the taser, which is drive stunning, to get the man to put his hands behind his back. After getting drive stunned for a couple of seconds, the suspect starts saying yes sir and stops fighting, but then immediately yells no and continues resisting.
Don't resist. No. Stop resisting. Stop resisting.
And again, if you see right here,
Just drive stunning
in this little segment right
After
here,
getting drive stunned for
yeah, you have another hand on this man's back and the back of his neck. Panicking, again, being tased might make someone start to comply, as he said, but at the same time, that doesn't diminish the amount of panic. Humans are not robots.
For a couple of seconds, the suspect starts saying yes sir and stops fighting, but then immediately yells no and continues resisting.
Don't resist. No. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Stop it. Help. Stop it. Help, please. Help. Do not move.
And yeah, drive stunning is a way to get someone to comply, but also keep in mind that is an electric arc going into your body enough to contract your muscles and, well, enough to make your muscles contract and constrict. That's very painful. to people, and B, you know what else is very painful? YouTube autoplay. Stop doing that. I have you cut off for a reason. Stop. But you know what else is also very painful to people, and what else this muscle contraction can do? It can potentially stop your heart. Because your heart is a muscle. Your heart is a big, beating muscle. It contracts and constricts and releases to pump blood through your body. And that can kill someone if you mess up their heart rhythm. We saw this recently with a NFL player whose name I'm forgetting, but I think he was on the Buffalo Bills. He was playing football. He got tackled right in the chest. This is a healthy man. He is in his 20s. And when he got tackled in his chest, it knocked off his heart rhythm and he had a heart attack. Messing with someone's heart rate like this for a prolonged amount of time, even for a brief period of time, can kill someone. Damar Hamlin, thank you, Zoom Flash. Yeah. But focusing outside of the situation, let's go into Donut Operator's rhetoric around this entire thing.
My taser stopped resisting.
Because this is what is
tell
particularly
you how a
disgusting
taser
to
works
me.
real quick. There are two ways I stated it.
So we've seen him
After getting drive stunned for a couple of seconds,
Stop resisting.
but then immediately yells no and continues resisting.
Don't stop
Help,
it.
please. Help.
Do not
I'm not
move.
resisting. I'm not resisting.
Yeah, and if you can see there, he isn't resisting. He has his arms there's no no realistic way he can fight back at this point. He has a knee on his back. His arms are behind his back. He's on the ground, face forward. He has a taser to his back. How else can he resist? He's incapacitated.
Do not move.
Okay.
If not, I'm gonna tase you again.
Okay.
I got one.
Help me. Okay.
Here, hold on. Stop it. Stop resisting.
Let's see what other large activists on Twitter are saying about this before we
Yeah, immediately. Large activists on Twitter.
get into the context of the video. You know, the whole video.
Okay.
The video that was posted by 50 Shades of Way that has 1.4 million views at time of filming says, warning graphic, the LAPD tased a black man to death after he flagged them down for help. At one point he says, they're trying to George Floyd me. Keenan Anderson was a dedicated father and high school teacher. Oh man, that guy blocked me. Why? Quasim Rashid. Thank you, Chrome Incognito. Keenan Anderson, a 31-year-old high school teacher and father, stopped LA police for help after an accident. They instead cuffed him, pinned him, and tased him repeatedly as he begged for them to stop. Keenan died of cardiac arrest from excessive tasing. His crime was asking police for help. Not quite. We'll get into that here in a minute. You guys want some context?
Okay, so apparently this guy is about to just go on and try to justify killing someone, even if they've committed a crime, which Keenan Anderson very well might have committed a crime, but you know, just justifying extrajudicial police killings of people, even in a circumstance, YouTube, I'm going to scream. But justify extrajudicial police killings, even in a circumstance where charges have not been filed, no one has gone to court. That's what Donut Operator is about to defend here. So let's get back into this. I really need to change my hotkeys because this is getting really annoying to me. Okay, so a hit and run, a felony. A suspected hit and run. Okay. Again, how does this justify a police killing? That's what I want to know. Yeah. Okay, so right now we see a man very much so complying. I mean, like, he got down like that himself. Yep, see, oh wow, he's complying. Wow, would you look at that? He is complying. No sound, dude? Oh shit, sorry. Thank you. Okay. But still, this was mostly just footage. We're seeing a man complying right now.
Who's trying to kill you? Okay, what car were you?
Cut off about 7 minutes before the foot chase was about to happen because the officer was sitting there trying to calm down Anderson, just trying to figure out what was going on and what had happened. They picked it right back up before he ran off.
Hey, stay here. Stay here.
Sir, I need
Stay
some water.
here.
Can you get some water? Please.
Stay here. I'll get you some water here in a second, okay?
Please.
Just have a...
Oh, and also, again, nothing that Keenan Anderson does here justifies him being killed by cops. Yeah? If you want to prosecute someone for committing a crime, that can be done in a court of law. This isn't a country where we should condone extrajudicial killings. So if they hold him down and torture people, people never cease to disgust me. Keenan was unwell and ended up running in the middle of traffic. Not saying to kill him, but restraining Keenan. Yeah, restraining him was fine. Killing him was not. The way they went about restraining him, that will be determined in a court of law. I'm mostly just going to talk about Donut Operator's rhetoric surrounding this entire situation.
Stay right there then. If you want to be seen, stay right there. For me a second here. Come here, I don't want you in the road. Come here. Come here.
The guy who just caused a pretty big wreck then tried to jump into someone else's car to flee the wreck, oh yeah, that happened too, endangering himself and other drivers by running into the middle of
the oh yeah, that happened too, and then like just not pointing to any reports.
The road. Someone's got to go into cuffs at that point.
Now, get down over there. Turn over on your stomach right now. Turn over on your stomach right now. Turn over. Turn over.
He initially complies to the officer saying get down, but then starts resisting arrest. A lot of people on the internet think that the video we watched on Twitter where they were getting him into cuffs is not him resisting. Resisting doesn't mean someone's actively punching a police officer in the face. There's passive and active resisting. Passive means that they're just not listening to you. Active can be punching, kicking. It can even be bringing your arms to your chest and not wanting to be arrested. It can be stiffening up so that the police can't put you in handcuffs. Anything to prevent...
Stiffening up is also something that can happen whenever someone has a lot of stress and adrenaline in them. That's not always an intentional thing. And considering how irrational and panicked Keenan Anderson was acting, such stiffening was probably a result of that, yeah.
An arrest physically is active resisting. That's exactly what happens almost this entire video. If a suspect is actively resisting, this means that a police officer can use whatever force that is within their policy and their use of force continuum to get someone into handcuffs.
Oh yeah, and before like any Donut Operator fans say anything about this, what Keenan Anderson is doing in this circumstance by running around would technically constitute resisting arrest. That does not justify killing him though.
Turn over! Yes, sir.
People also stiffen when they're tased. Yeah. Imagine that.
Hold on. Okay, please. Please, sir, please don't do this. Please don't do this, sir. Please. Help me, please. Help me, please. Help me, help me. Help me, please.
Hey, stop.
Let's get more into the rhetoric.
Stop it right now.
Please, stop resisting. Please. Please. Please.
Okay, yeah, so they have him on the ground.
As I said before, I can't. It was either 12, 13, or 14. I'm going to tase you, stop. Which, as we talked about at the beginning.
And again, whenever you're in a panic situation, you probably aren't paying... You probably aren't paying that much attention to the people who you think are assailing upon you. Being a cop doesn't change your station in, like, monkey brain and in lizard brain. That doesn't change your station. If you're assailing upon someone, which they were doing, you can say that they were fulfilling their duty, that they were doing their job. Yeah. That doesn't change the fact that what they were doing and what it would have been perceived as is them assailing upon someone, which would cause them to panic and maybe not necessarily listen to him, especially since this man was already panicked. I've seen people be arrested, it's scary, and I understand being panicked and stuff. Yeah, literally.
Video, I don't think that the taser probes made a proper connection. That's why I started drive stunning him. They finally get him into cuffs, and he continues screaming about how this is an act and that the officers are actors, and then starts screaming about the officers thinking that he killed CeeLo.
They're trying to kill me. Oh, no. You'll be trying to kill you. Oh, Pilo.
Okay, so he's a man suffering from a mental health crisis, potentially? Okay.
Oh,
Doesn't justify killing him.
I got him on the ground over there, just sitting on his own, and then he took off in the traffic right.
They think I killed Pilo. They think I killed Pilo.
I'm not too sure who CeeLo is. They put him on his side and sit him up so that he can breathe, and he's still talking to them. According to the LAPD, fire and EMS arrived 60 seconds later to assess Anderson.
They sedated me. They sedated me. Yeah.
Reports state that he had a medical emergency and passed away. Toxicology to the hospital. 4.5 hours later, while he was in the hospital, reports state that he had a medical emergency and passed away. Toxicology reports state that he had weed and cocaine in his system at the time. The
Okay. Yeah. So that also probably messed up his heart rate. And also with the tasing, that also probably did something with it. So I had an electric dog collar used to me, and literally as that would go off and my muscles would suddenly... Yeah,
police
that's what
chief later
happens.
stated that he had gotten into a
I don't
felony
want
hit
to
and
question
run,
why you were wearing an electric dog collar, but, you know.
tried to get into someone else's car to flee the scene, and that was right before the motorcycle officer arrived. While I'm here, shout out to all the death threats that I got by simply stating there was more to this video on Twitter. F***ing blow me. So what do you guys think about this whole thing? Is it lawful but awful? Was that much Taser excessive? Did the officer simply just beat a man to death for flagging them down for help? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys want to help support the channel, go to DonutOperator.com, get some super sweet merch, or subscribe to me on any...
Okay, so let us talk about the situation as a whole. So, what we just watched was a man being killed by the police, most likely. Bringing up the toxicology report is something that, he can do, and maybe it could point to something, but at the same time, I think there are multiple factors here. A, if he was on cocaine, that can mess up heart rate. B, he was panicking, that heightens heart rate. C, he got tased for a prolonged period of time, which can absolutely mess up someone's heart rate and cause them to go into cardiac arrest. So we have that. But now I'm here to give you all what this entire situation in context when covered by Donut Operator means. Okay? So we saw at the very beginning that Donut Operator stated,
I haven't posted in a week, but look, I'm back here with another unbiased police incident that is...
Unbiased. This man was a police officer for multiple years. He's been doing this line of work on YouTube and covering police incidents like this for multiple years. I think it is safe to say that he probably is not unbiased. Probably not unbiased in the fact that he's selling himself as unbiased in this when his bias clearly shows through, especially when he was talking about the specific people he chose on Twitter to talk about when sharing this video were very specific people that he seems to have a little bit of a bent against. He's clearly not unbiased, yeah? And this is where I get into the main section of this video. I might edit this one a little bit because there was a lot of fluff in here. But this is what I mostly want to say. Anyone who tells you that they do not have a bias is lying to you. Everyone has a bias, and this is one of the most obvious examples of this. No one who is in this line of work for this long will be unbiased when covering this kind of material. At all. Full stop. I fully admit my bias. He doesn't. Because he lies to you and wants you to believe that what he's giving you is unbiased. When every single last thing he has said here has been done to justify the killing of this man by police. Keenan Anderson, in this situation, did not act the most rational. He did not act the perfect arrestee, but that doesn't justify him being killed in this way. That doesn't justify what happened to him. Because believe it or not, there are 8 billion people on this planet. Not everyone is the most rational actor. And not everyone's going to be a model stand-up citizen. But that doesn't mean that we should sit here and slyly make arguments without fully admitting them, but slyly make arguments as to why an incident like this was justified. Notice how he also said the toxicology report said that Keenan Anderson was on weed and cocaine in here. He was tossing in a little something, he was sprinkling in a little something like, ooh, see, this wasn't just one incident, he might have also been doing something else. Yeah. A panicked man is not going to act rational. Flat out. People need to recognize that at the end of the day, humans are animals. And animals, when they feel threatened, whether or not their feeling of being threatened is justified, will act irrationally. And will act to protect themselves. It doesn't matter your station in society. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what level of authority you have over them. They will try to flee. They will try to fight. And they will try to protect themselves. Flat out. And expecting... No, I'm not going to say expecting. Trying to justify This kind of behavior by law enforcement in this situation, by stating, oh, he wasn't acting the most rational, oh, he was running around, oh, he was panicking, trying to do that isn't a very good idea. Isn't the best idea to do, because people will react in irrational ways when they feel threatened. Even cops. When cops feel threatened, they will act in irrational and non-logical ways because we're humans. Yeah? A situation like this, and hindsight is 20/20. Yeah, but there are many ways that the situation also could have been resolved. If he was running away, it's a hit and run. They were probably going to charge him with a hit and run already. The car was there. Take the plates and just find him later. A hit and run doesn't always mean that someone is still an active threat. This wasn't a murder he committed. People do hit and runs all the time. Is it unfortunate? Yes. But there are ways to handle this instead of jumping on someone who's acting irrationally. Keenan Anderson's primary thing here that it seemed like he might have been doing was A, panicking, B, acting irrational, and C, kind of sort of complying but also not, and trying to explain the situation and panicking while doing that and not necessarily doing the best job. Yeah? And then, again, multiple ways this situation could have gone. And it went in a way that ended up with his death, which is unfortunate. But the fact of the matter is, the immediate thing that happened here didn't always have to be an immediate, right then and there arrest. Yeah, exactly. There was no need to do this. If he were, it would be one thing if he murdered someone, if he shot someone, if he stabbed someone, but he didn't. He did a hit and run and tried to run away from the scene. Should he have been arrested and prosecuted for that? Yes. Don't do hit and runs. But at the same time, this man did not have to die over this. Because what else was he going to do? Flee the country over a hit and run? And then running from the police? No. They had his face on body cam. They could run his plates and figure out who he was and where he lived. They did not have to do this. And the fact that Donut Operator is sitting here and pointing to his irrationality, his human irrationality, his behavior in this hyper-stressful situation where he might have been under the influence of drugs, which the cops didn't know that, but this hyper-irrational behavior, and not violent irrational, just panicked irrational. The fact that Donut Operator is sitting here and pointing to the situation and saying, well, you can't blame the cops for doing this and this and this because they had to get that arrest, and sometimes things happen and he shouldn't have been acting like that. Humans are not rational actors. We are animals. And this kind of rhetoric and this kind of behavior is disgusting, especially when it's coming from someone who claims to be non-biased. Because if he was non-biased, he would have said some of the arguments that I made. That not everyone is going to act rationally in a situation like this. That there were that there were other ways that they could have later arrested him. That there were things that they could have done to minimize the amount of harm. This man did not serially commit hit and runs. Take his tags and arrest him later. But no, this man is not unbiased. Flat out, full stop, he is not unbiased. And the fact that he's promoting himself like that to you should be a sign that you shouldn't listen to him. You know what an unbiased take on this might look like? Keenan Anderson was a man who committed a hit and run. And he was acting irrationally when the cops were trying to talk to him and were likely about to arrest him. It happens. Yeah, he might have been under the influence of drugs. It happens. But then, instead of doing the various different avenues that they could have done, because Keenan Anderson did not pose an active threat until he got spooked and reacted like any living being would react in many such a situation, he ended up getting tackled, arrested, and tased, which threw off his heart rhythm, among other things that might have also thrown off his heart rhythm, and killed him. But no. Donut Operator is not an unbiased actor. I've said it repeatedly, and this is gonna be the last time I try to say it. This is not an unbiased actor. Don't let him lead you to believe this. Because if he was an unbiased actor, he wouldn't be telling this from a police perspective. He would be telling this from all perspectives. Going into the police psyche into this. Going into the potential psyche of Keenan Anderson in this. What could cause the situation. What could be improved upon. But this isn't what he's doing. He's making justifications as to why this happened. And why this isn't as bad. And why the coverage of this as being a murder is bad. It's what it was. Yeah? It was a killing. A man got killed. A man got murdered. There were different ways to solve the situation. He didn't pose an active threat to anyone. And this is how he ended up. So again, keep that in mind going forward. Yeah? No matter what Keenan Anderson did, that doesn't justify his death by cop. Flat out. With that being said, if you found a way to enjoy this segment, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. You can join my Discord server, link in the description, and follow me on Twitter, link in the description as well. I stream on Fridays and Saturdays, or Fridays or Saturdays, depending on how I'm feeling that week. And I upload videos on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 11 p.m. Pacific Time, I believe. With that being said, I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.